Hello my siblings in Christ and welcome to the second Q&A. As before, if you want me to answer a question, leave it in the comments. Before we start, I noticed that a lot of questions you guys post get answered by other subscribers. I'll try not to look at these answers so you'd get the widest range of possible answers. Remember, me answering the question does not mean I'll give you the best answer, just the illustrated one. I'll also read some funny comments from the previous Q&A and comment on them. Only Facts asks, why was Tsar Nicholas canonized? I'm not sure how neglecting your people to constant famines, low literacy rates, practice of serfdom, the millions sent to their deaths for a pointless war, and the bloody Sunday massacre makes you a saint, but everyone I ask online just keeps bringing up Jewish conspiracies. To put it short, you being an incompetent ruler does not make you ineligible for sainthood. In Serbia, we have an emperor saint that's literally called Saint Uroš the Weak, the title being a reference to his rule. I never read too much on the Romanovs, but they always struck me as very pious, full of integrity, and sadly, possibly not the best fit for the throne. Remember that an absolute monarch still has to rely on a cabinet of ministers, councillors, deputies, and whatnot to rule his or her land. And when it comes to a land that is as large as Russia, you will hardly, if ever, have a perfect ruler. While some see it as sending millions to their deaths, in Serbia, Nikola II is remembered very fondly for coming to our aid against the oppressor. He personally wanted to lead the army. A decision, while disastrous in result, speaks loads about his character, that he wasn't willing to sit far away from combat. The Grand Duchesses would personally visit and tend to the wounded soldiers. Lastly, there are two important contributing factors to his canonization. He is canonized as a passion bearer, a person who approaches his or her death with Christian dignity, but isn't necessarily killed for his or her faith. Second, the time after the revolution marked a time of near complete annihilation of Christianity and religion in general in the Soviet Union. Such persecutions haven't been seen since the time of the Roman emperors, and it's no wonder that the Church remembered Nicholas II fondly. Robert Sirico asks, where are all the commenters who shred you on your atheism video? Here's a perfect opportunity to ask questions and have an honest discussion. Well, there's one atheist who's left a question, but in general, atheists aren't really interested in honest discussion. Believers, in general, aren't interested in honest discussion. People, in general, aren't really all that interested in honest discussion. People tend to shout their opinions at others. It is the way we are. Orthodox Defender asks, how can we explain to Americans that Orthodox are not monsters for not supporting gay marriage laws? A lot of Americans oppose such laws, and a lot of people who support such laws don't consider us monsters. If someone considers us monsters for opposing it, I don't think there's really a way of convincing them other than praying for them and hoping that God will somehow make a crack upon their heart of stone. I think this is generally a problem with people, that they assume that if you oppose them on ideological level, that you hate them personally. Emily Broyles asks, will you ever do a video about you so we can learn more about you? Oh shucks. I recently had an interview with Dor, that is Denver's own Orthodox radio. The interview should be up in a week, and I've got their blessing to post the entire interview here. There you'll learn more about me, and I might make an extended version later on. Mother Meme asks, why don't more people know about you? I always recommend your videos to my friends. I blame the following. First, my subscribers, except you, Mother Meme, who don't tell other people to subscribe to me. Second, I blame the big YouTubers for not giving me a shout-out. Really, Markiplier, is it that difficult to say, hello everybody, if you want to learn more about the most holy and consubstantial Trinity, subscribe to Bible Illustrated. That will be totally in character. Next, I blame my parents for not raising me in such a manner that would make me make the channel sooner, like in 2009. Next, I blame the church, because the church is easy to blame for everything. And finally, I blame God, who can literally make everyone instantly subscribe to me, yet he opts not to. On a more serious note, I think it has to do with my channel being very niche. It is a channel on religion, specifically Christianity, specifically Orthodoxy. Then add the fact that it is a sort of a comedy channel, and since comedy equals blasphemy, I can see why someone wouldn't subscribe. The Shadow Reader asks, why is that God in the Old Testament was so angry all the time and had numerous people killed by the Jews? Yet in the New Testament, God desires all people to be saved. Why didn't God give mercy to the numerous innocent men, women, children, and infants that He commanded to be slaughtered by the Jews of the Old Testament instead of granting them salvation by becoming Jews? I will make a separate video out of this one because there's a lot to talk about here. I will just make a few brief points that are sure to raise more questions, but just bear with me. It isn't that God is angry all the time. It is that people are horrible all the time. I would be that perturbed if I constantly saw people raping other people in the streets or offering up their own children as burnt sacrifices. If I were God, and thank God I'm not, I'd end the humanity by Genesis 5 and ignore the pleas of angels to continue the series. God does have mercy. Just read the book of Prophet Jonah. What I hate about Jonah is that everyone is so focused on that damn fish that they completely forget one of the most beautiful stories of mercy and forgiveness that follows it. There's no more beautiful story of repentance even in the New Testament. People generally see the God of the Old Testament as petty, vindictive, and easy on the trigger, and then Him suddenly becoming nice in the New Testament. However, God was always nice, but desperate times require desperate measures. And when you have brutal nations surrounding you, you have to be brutal if you hope to survive. Once God sees that His nation can survive without being brutal to other brutal nations, that is when the Christ comes. And the church that He forms can and does survive brutality without being brutal itself. Duck Gaming 5000 asks, what's the difference between a Catholic Bible and Orthodox Bible? Not a whole lot, we just accept a couple of deuterocanonical books more than the Catholics. Those are Prayer of Manasseh, 3 and 4 Maccabees, and a slightly different version of 1 Ezra. River Ezal comments, I can remember when this channel was below 100 subscribers. It's so good to see this channel growing so quickly. My wife and I love your videos and literally drop whatever we are doing whenever we get the subscriber notification so we can watch together. Well, I really hope you guys aren't pilots or cardio surgeons. Alexander Williams asks, what criteria do you use to determine that something a priest tells you or that you read in the Bible is true? I simply don't believe that any of Christ's apostles would risk their life promoting something they knew wasn't true, all the while not really profiting from it. Like, well, we know Christ didn't really raise from the dead, let us go to this city square, insult their gods and get our heads cut off. Regina Garcia asks, I have a question. Do Orthodox at least believe that the Theotokos went into heaven with body and soul? Just curious. Yep, we do. Our feast, the Dormition of the Most Holy Theotokos, focuses instead more on her death, whereas the Roman Catholic feast day focuses more on her ascension into heaven. Draghi S asks, why are the non-Chalcedonians referred to many times as Oriental Orthodox, when they're clearly not? Well, because we cannot impose names on others. I can't call a company Mac junk food or call weight loss products Herba doesn't work. Likewise, we have no monopoly over the word Orthodox, and we can't really make anyone else think that they're not in the right. He also asks, how did the Bible come to contain the books it has today? How can we respond to the Protestant claims that we've wrongly added the deuterocanonical books to the Bible? The Bible was compiled by placing together all the books that had verified apostolic authorship and that were in use by Christian communities. By the 3rd century, the canon was more or less firmly established. Regarding the Protestants, it is easy. We didn't add the books, they removed the books that didn't sit well with the Reformers. Church is the pillar and foundation of the truth, as the Bible calls it, and if the Church made faulty judgment regarding the deuterocanonical books, then it could have made an error regarding any book of the Bible. In addition, the deuterocanonical books are quoted in the New Testament. For example, the story about the woman who's had 7 husbands is straight out of the book of Tobit. Aristotle Theophilus asks, could you explain the Orthodox understanding of salvation? The Orthodox view of salvation is this: I get to heaven and the rest of you get to watch my clips for all eternity. The Orthodox salvation concept can be shortly explained as such. Christ became man so that we might become God. This might sound scandalous, but this does not mean that we become separate gods, but that we participate in God's very own nature. Christ becomes everything we are, human and broken, yet sinless, so that we might become what He is, holy, sanctified and sinless. Because salvation is not just being in static heaven, but us being drawn into God, it is a constant and eternal growth in holiness and love for God. Slikovita Stvarnost asks, what is your opinion of Zoroastrianism? Did those 3 wise men who come to worship Christ belong to Zoroastrianism? I personally find many similarities between Orthodoxy and Zoroastrianism. Well, it is my favorite pagan religion. When I was younger, I used to have this book on occultism, and I would read from it, and the section on Zoroastrianism was my favorite one. Sadly, when I read the lives of the saints, I noticed that there's quite a number of them that were martyred by the fire worshippers, so that bummed me out. While there is a lot of similarities between Zoroastrianism and some Christian and Jewish teachings, and there may have been some influence, I'm not so sure that the wise men were Persian, but that is a very viable option. Remember, pagan religions, teachings and philosophies don't always have to be evil and of the devil. Sometimes they're teaching mankind until something better, or rather, someone better comes, that is, Christ. As we say in the Troparion to the Nativity, those who worship the stars were taught by a star to worship you, O Son of Righteousness. What I Wish I Could Play asks, why has the Church not recognized your extensive accomplishments? I think that they are waiting for me to die, if you know what I mean. Wink wink. Do you believe in evolution? What is your opinion on the old and new calendars? What do you think of the Moscow as the third Rome? This is a perfect timing for me to announce that I'm leaving for monastery in Tibet, because no one would look for an Orthodox guy in Tibet. Okay, I'll answer these questions, but I might as well call this Q&A the Bible Illustrated Unsubscribe Special. Let us go one by one. Xpure asks, do I believe in evolution? Yes. Do I think it excludes God? Absolutely not. I see it as one of the possible ways God created us. However, I'm not for evolution 100%. I think that creationists oppose science too much, but I also think that some Christians embrace evolution all too easily. I mean, in 2000 years, maybe the science community will laugh at the notion of evolution and be like, yeah, it was fine for its time, but we know so much better now, whatever that might be. Demetretis Coraje asks, and I apologize again for mispronouncing your name, what is your opinion on old and new calendar and which do you use? I use the old calendar, that is, the Serbian Orthodox Church uses the old calendar, but I wish we use the modified Julian calendar, which many Orthodox people refer to wrongly as the Gregorian calendar. The old calendar is basically off 2 weeks, and we technically are 2 weeks off from different anniversaries we celebrate in our churches. I think it is okay for some churches to retain the old calendar as a way to prevent schism, as it was known to happen. You know, as St. Paul tells us, to refrain from something permissible in order not to cause our weaker brethren to stumble. I find the majority of other reasons to keep the old calendar completely ridiculous, such as, the Pope made the new one, we'll become Catholics if we adopt the new calendar, the First Ecumenical Council canonized the Julian calendar as the only calendar Christians should use, and so on. Orthodox Lab asks, what do you think of the Moscow as the third Rome? I think it is a ridiculous belief and I use every opportunity to mock it without mercy. It is a simple power grab, nothing more and nothing less and nothing else. Listen, Moscow, do your own thing, don't try to be someone you're not. You have a lot of going for yourself. Biblically, Rome has a rather poor user rating, and I don't know why Moscow doesn't claim to be the new Babylon on the same grounds. Well, that's it for today. I hope I have some subscribers left, and I wish to thank all 3 of you for staying here. If you have any more questions, I'll be more than willing to answer, and just leave them in the comments below. Bye!